Alrighty, I guess we can get started. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, and welcome to another session of our ITOM Academy. Today we have an amazing topic to talk about, which is certificate inventory and management practices, and we have great aspects here to support and great presenters. So we are definitely super excited. As you know, this series is part of the Live on ServiceNow webinar series, which is really designed to help you adopt and deploy your products in the best and faster way so you can achieve the most value out of them. And if you want to join them, please do see the schedule by scanning this QR code here on this slide. And also, we'll post the link to the webinar series on the chat so you can find it very soon. And it's also important to say that if you want to join all the future webinars of this series, you'll have to register on the same link. Now, a few housekeeping items for today. Please make sure to use the Q&A feature whenever you want to ask questions throughout the session. Everyone's line is muted for today. The session will include some polls, and we'll kindly ask you to please take part in those polls. We really want to make it interactive, and we really want to hear from you. Also, for those of you that are wondering, yes, this session is being recorded. It will soon be available on YouTube, typically after 10 business days from the event, and also on the ServiceNow community page, the same one that you possibly even used to register to this very same webinar, together with the deck. So yes, you will find both of them on that same page. And also, right after the session ends, you'll be prompted to fill out a short survey. Please do leave some feedback there. We really appreciate your feedback. It's been great so far, and we want to hear more from you to see what you want to hear from us for the next sessions. Now, for those of you that don't know me, I am Gian Mario De Luigi, and I'm part of the outbound product management team for ITOM. And I'm joined here by two superstars and actually many more in the background that are helping in delivering today's session. So, Derek, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Derek Kitzman, happy to be here. Excited to talk about certificate inventory and management.
Awesome. And also we have Surbi from the inbound side of the product team. Surbi, over to you.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, John. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Excited to be on this webinar and talk about certificate inventory and management.
Awesome. Also in the background, we have our great friends. We have Ranzu Lee, Brian Quinn, and Yolin Yang that are going to help deliver this session. So yes, you're in good hands. You can ask as many questions as you want throughout the session, but also we'll have a live Q&A towards the end of the session. So please don't miss that part. Now, agenda for today. We're going to explain a little bit more of the why certificate inventory management. Why is this solution there and why is it really needed for? We'll have a quick overview and then a deep dive session. We're going to show you the product in action with a live demo, and then we're going to jump straight into a live Q&A. So lots and lots of content to cover for today. But first, we want to make sure that everyone is active and really proactively participating in this webinar. So we have the first poll for you already. We want to make sure to know, how are you currently managing your TLS certificate life cycle? Specifically, are you leveraging our certificate inventory management solution, or do you currently have mainly manual processes and procedures, or a third-party tool, or a combination, let's say, of manual processes and procedures and third-party tools? Now, please keep those answers coming while we talk about a little bit more of the why certificate inventory and management. Now, for those of you that have seen this slide before, it's really, really important to understand the why we're doing all this. Why, in first place, not only visibility, but also your CMDB with a business context is really the foundation, is the fuel for your AI and workflow success. Now, as you can see from this slide, we're not going to go through all of the different use cases, But you need to keep in mind that the CMDB is indeed fundamental for all those use cases that you see around this slide. Specifically, if you think about certificate inventory and management and beyond. And we are ending the poll now, by the way. Thank you all for the great participation in it. It's really important to understand that, yes, you have an estate of the IT where you need to know where the certificates are residing so that you can determine their impact. And also behind that, you have all the different services that can be impacted by those certificates. You have all different complications that can appear whenever you're not compliant with the best practices for certificate inventory management. Now, specifically, there are different aspects of certificate management that are particularly important, especially talking about TLS certificates. First of all, the timeline or the lifetime of these certificates is set to be reduced officially to 47 days. And that's going to happen quite soon. So there is definitely a call to action there. You need to have that target in mind in terms of complying with the new requirements for certificate lifetimes. And it's already hard to manage certificates with the current lifespans, which we're talking about a definitely different scale. So imagine how hard it will be to maintain them, to renew them on a 47 days basis. Now, another aspect of it is that many enterprises, almost half of the enterprises in this case that have been surveyed for this specific study, claim that they experienced outages that were tied to certificate related issues over the past year. Now, this is a huge number. We're talking about different agentic AI experiences. We're talking about different tools that have been there for a while, yet companies are still experiencing these problems. And then, last but not least, these manual processes are not only exposing organizations to outages and compliance failures, but specifically they're causing six-figure losses because the certificate volumes are climbing. This means that there's also a huge economic impact that is deriving from manual processes around certificate management. So these are just some of the examples that we wanted to bring up there to state how paramount it is to ensure that your certificate estate is properly managed. Before we get into the overview of the solution, we also have another poll for you. Yes, we're definitely not stopping. We want to make sure that everyone is also engaged from the very beginning. And we want to specifically know which certificate authorities are you currently using to sign the TLS certificates in your environments. In this case, you'll be able to select all the ones that apply. You can, in case your window is small enough, you can scroll down to see all the different CAs in this list. And in case you have other CAs that are not specified here, please make sure to let us know in the Q&A box. We're definitely curious to see which ones you're currently using. And I definitely see that there's a huge prevalence in this case so far of DigiCert, Microsoft, CA, and Entrust. So let's now jump into, and thanks everyone, by the way. I see a lot of different answers coming up, so we really appreciate it. Let's now talk about the solution a little bit more from an overview perspective. Now, certificate inventory management is a store app, first of all, that you can download from the store. And we highly encourage you to go to the store if you want to really benefit from all the latest and greatest innovations that have been released so far. The main outcomes of this app are to really, first of all, prevent outages by proactively identifying the expiring certificates. So you don't have to do that manually. Then the solution also helps you to reduce the operational effort and manual tracking because we have a built-in automation workflow that is working for you. And also since there are rapidly raising certificate volumes and also different requirements, you can keep pace with this increasing number of certificates and all the different, let's say, innovations or requirements that are deriving from the digital transformation that is happening right now. But now, specifically, what about these workflows that we're talking about? How does certificate management actually work from a higher level point of view? Now, this slide could be, it could seem like a little bit too much on a first glance, but this is essentially the key representation of what the solution is all about. And it, of course, we mentioned the CMDB and why that is important. But in order to populate your CMDB, you need to first discover certificates across your state. And you can do that in 4 different methods. You can do it with a port-based discovery. You can do a CI-based discovery if you want to do specifically certificate authority specific discoveries. You can also use URL for URL-based discovery or the pattern-based discovery. Now, that the choice basically of these methods will highly rely on what use cases you're trying to cover. So specifically, the certificate authority-based discovery will support DigiCert, Entrust, GoDaddy, Sectigo, Microsoft, AWS, Azure, and Google, as you can see from here. And the pattern-based supports discovery of these certificates in Java and Windows key stores. Now, once you have chosen the right method, and we're going to dig deeper into each one of them. So I'm just giving you a higher level. Derek is in a moment is going to go through each one of these in more details. Whenever you want to then discover the certificates and you choose the right method, you'll be populating your CMDB, possibly also with the installed locations. And that's particularly relevant for port-based and pattern-based discovery of certificates so that you can gain business context of your certificates because you know exactly even which other resources they will be impacting, which automatically allows you to understand what is the service impact, so the business impact of those certificates whenever they are potentially even expiring, so causing an outage. Then you can do a proactive task creation 60 days prior to expiration, or in this case, you can set it to whatever time frame you want so that you have a reactive incident creation for the expired certificates that are not then compliant with this policy, which means proactively, you'll set this policy and you'll avoid the vast majority, of course, all the certificates they will be covering with these policies will be absolutely proactively renewed. And whenever there are different exceptions to it, there will be a reactive incident creation for the expired certificates. Then from the Employee Center or Kubernetes Cert Manager, you'll have a request that is automated for automated fulfillment that is in those UIs, which means you can either request for a new certificate or renew an existing one or even revoke a certificate directly from these, we can say these portals. And once you've done that, you can do the automation of the new, renew, and revoke workflows to the certificate authority. So in this case, we also have a dedicated slide to explain how the CA automation support is working, because you can do that either via APIs or via Acme protocol for the supported CAs. And also you can proceed with the creation of a change request so that you can ensure governance. Effectively, after you've proceeded with all these workflows, you'll be able to visualize the lifecycle, inventory, and automation trends. Now, this is a really powerful tool that is essentially automating a lot of the manual work for you so that you can ensure the best operational excellence and, of course, make sure that you're avoiding the certificate related outages with all the different problems that are deriving from them. And also, you're offering essentially a way better streamlined experience whenever you're creating new certificates or renewing or even revoking them, so that you have full-on governance of your certificates. Now, that was an overview, but I want to make sure that Derek now shows you what each one of those segments is about. So, Derek, I will leave it to you.
All right. Thank you, John. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Just want to validate everybody can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. And one of the questions that we received in the QA was, how was this licensed? So certificate inventory and management is included in your ITOM visibility license. The certificate discovery does not consume any CAs. And, the workflows are using, integrations within the platform. And I believe it is also included with your licensing. Now we we have future roadmap to, enhance the offering. So it is possible that licensing could change, but currently it is included with your ITOM visibility license. Okay, so let's jump into the deep dive real quick. So, as John was saying, we have multiple ways to discover certificates. The first way is port scan. So when we think about the discovery process, as you're setting up your discovery schedules, you're entering in subnets, and based off of those services described in a port probe, we are looking for those open ports like 443, 8443, 9443, or whatever you decide. It could be a higher port where you're using to encrypt traffic between different infrastructure. We will look at those ports and see if there are certificates hanging off those ports, and we'll pull those back into the CMDB. And as John mentioned, not only are we creating a unique certificate record, but we're also creating an installed certificate record. So that way you have the context of where that certificate was discovered. And if you're using service mapping, you also have the business context or the service context. So if that certificate were to expire, what would be the impact to your application, right? And then a second method for discovering certificates is pattern-based. So, when we're doing discovery against different infrastructure, we're executing patterns, and we have extensions in some of our patterns, like Windows, Linux, etc., where we're pulling Java key store certificates, etc., and installing those or storing those certificates in the CMDB. And similar to port probe scanning, we also create a unique certificate and an installed certificate record. So we establish the relationships to the services if you're using service mapping, right? And then the third way we have is via API calls to the CA signers, right? So the difference though with this is really it's just an inventory of unique certificates. Because we're not discovering them out again in your infrastructure, we do not have that context of where they're installed, but we still can manage the life cycle of those certificates and generate renewal tasks, etc., based off of a definition, what you define in the platform. So current support, AWS, GCP, Microsoft, Sectigo, DigiCert, GoDaddy, and Intrust are what we support currently for API-based discovery. And then a fourth method is, let's say you have infrastructure out in a DMZ or some managed service providers providing your hosting, and you don't have the ability to discover those certificates via horizontal or pattern-based discovery. We can still do that discovery via URL-based discovery. So you just add that URL into a URL-based discovery schedule, and we'll go out and pull the certificate details. And then you have, once they're stored in the CMDB as a unique certificate only, because once again, we're not discovering the infrastructure. So we'll create that unique certificate, and you can still run the automated workflows, to be able to get those certificates renewed in a timely fashion. And then one of the things that we have with certificate inventory and management is out-of-the-box catalog items to renew, request new certificates, or revoke certificates, right? And if you're requesting a new certificate, or requesting a renewal for a certificate, you can either come with a CSR to the request and paste that CSR into the platform, or we can generate a CSR on the fly and a private key, so we can send that request over to the CA for signing. Now, if you do opt to generate a CSR and private key pair, you will need to download the private key and store it in a remote location, a secure location. We are not considered a secure vault for your private keys, so you will need to make sure that you do download that. Okay. And then once you have those certificates requests submitted, we will auto select the appropriate automated routing policy based off the attributes of the request. And you can easily set up those automated routing policies in the platform, and I'll show you that in a demo. But we have two different manners of sending those over to the CA for signing, right? We have direct API based to DigiCert, Microsoft, and Intrust. And then if you have Acme deployed in your environment, the automated certificate management engine, I think is what it stands for, Acme stands for. So it's a protocol that runs on a server within your environment. If you're leveraging that protocol in your environment, we can use that to send certificate renewal, new requests, and revokes to Intrust, EJBCA, and also Let's Encrypt as well. So then once we submit those for signing to those CAs that we support, once the CA signs it, we'll pick up that digital signed certificate, store it into the CMDB, and then auto-generate a change request. Currently, we do not support the last mile deployment, but that is something that we're planning to support in the future. Yeah. So, and then, with the certificate and inventory and management, we also include the certificate management workspace, where we have out-of-the-box dashboards to where you can track inventory, track the renewal requests, the new certificate requests, revoke requests, etc. And then you can also jump into your certificate records and see your automated routing policies, etc. Okay. So let's jump into a quick demo, and let's run through some of the things that we talked about. So now, when we think about certificate inventory management, it is a store application. So if you haven't registered your instances, you would need to go to the ServiceNow store and find the certificate inventory management application and register that. And once you register it with your instances for the application in the store, then it becomes available to install within your dev, QA, and production, whichever instance you've I registered it with on the store. So I already have it installed here. I'm not going to go through that process. I think everybody understands that. But one of the things that I do want to talk about is with that, right? I talked about horizontal discovery or discovering certificates via horizontal probes. So the port probe that gets added to the platform with the certificate inventory management application is not enabled by default. So to enable it, what you need to do is you need to find the port probe. So that's under discovery definition. So I just, in the left navigation, the filter navigator, I enter port probes, and I go ahead and I select that. And as you'll see here, this is the new port probe, TLS_SSL_certificates. Now, it is disabled or inactive out of the, once it is installed. So you will need to come in here and enable that, right? And of course, it's in the certificate inventory management scope, so you would have to change scopes to go ahead and add that, right? So just click active here, and then the next time horizontal discovery runs, now you have the ability to do port scanning to pick out those certificates and discover those and store it in the CMDB, both a unique certificate and an installed certificate. And I mentioned in the slide deck, you have the ability to add additional services to discover it on. So currently out of the box, HTTPS, Tomcat SSL, IBM SSL, so on and so forth are supported out of the box, right? And you can add additional services to that by using the slush bucket, right? And of course, if you've got custom higher ports that you need to add, you can go ahead and add those IP services, and then they become selectable here in the port bucket. So I'm not going to modify any of this right now, but that would be how you would enable the port probe and customize what services you want to trigger the discovery for those individual ports. Okay. And then now, to go ahead and set up the discovery, I'm going to go ahead and go into the Discovery Admin workspace. And I already have, this particular instance doesn't have it, but let's go ahead and just, run through a quick, oops, sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm going to come to the schedule here, and as that's going, let's go ahead and create a new discovery schedule, click IP based. I come in here, click continue, and walk through the discovery, and I go ahead and I add, let's see, cert disco, and then I just add a port range, and then put in 24. I'm going to go ahead and enter that as a new. Sorry, that one. Sorry, 0/24, and then I give it a name, cert disco, boom, next, and I go through and I walk through and I select a mid server, so on and so forth. And then I can add that discovery schedule. Now, in the Discovery Admin workspace, we don't yet support URL-based discovery or API-based discovery, so we would do that in the left nav here. So I'm just going to come in here in the left nav and go to Discovery Schedules, right? Open that up. And then I'm going to, so we already have a URL based and a certificate based. So let's go ahead and open up Sectico API-based discovery here. You'll notice it runs on a weekly basis, and the discovery type is certificates. So we open that up. We've identified a mid server, and then we've got a serverless execution pattern where we've identified the details here. So, and they're not identified, but you would enter in values here for your credential alias, the API version, and the URL here, right? So that's how you would set up an API base to a CA signer to bring in the inventory and the unique certificates, okay? And then let's look at the URL-based discovery. So once again, URL-based discovery, the type of discovery is certificates, and then the certificate discovery type is URL-based as opposed to CA trust, right? We also identify a mid server. We choose how often we want to discover that, daily, weekly, etc. And then we can add additional URLs here on the fly, right? So I could go ahead and add HTTPS, and Steve always does formula1.com. And I go ahead and I submit that. And now that is available for adding that to the certificate. And I'm not sure why it's acting goofy here. But then also in the left nav here, so that's been added, and you'll notice it hasn't been discovered yet. The next time this schedule runs, it will discover that and store that certificate in the CMDB. And you also have another way of adding the URLs. You could come in here and add the list here to discovery by URL. So here I could add this here and add a new URL. and submit that. And then from the discovery schedule, I would just use the slush bucket, right? So discovery schedule, let's go here. And then once I added that, I would come in here and then use the edit button and then choose the available URLs here. So that's how you would set up, IP-based discovery schedule. That would how you would set up URL-based and or API-based discovery schedules. So once we have the discovery schedule set up and we're discovering all of our certificates, now we will start, you have the ability to come into the workspace and view your certificate inventory here, right? So I can see that I've got 34 unique certificates, 9 of those are discovered. And then, I can also see any tasks that I have, whether they're renewal tasks or new tasks for requests, etc. Right? And then, so let's hop into a certificate here. I'm going to pop into a unique certificate. So now I can see the details of those certificates within the CMDB. Okay. And then once we have the certificate inventory in, now you can start identifying, who the owner is, what the change group is, and if it is going to be a priority 1, a priority through, or you don't want to renew the certificates, right? And then, like I said, if we discover those, we also create a discovered certificate, and we have the context of where that certificate is installed. And then we also are pulling in not only the signed certificate, but also the intermediate and the root certificate as well. And we establish a relationship to those in a chain. And if there are any type of manual tasks or automated tasks, we could see those details as well, right? So you can see here that there was a task number. It's already been fulfilled, so I can see the status of that. Now, if I want to request a new certificate, right, we have out-of-the-box catalog items that I mentioned. So we have those out-of-the-box catalog items, and you can expose those, enable those in the employee portal. So if I just want to request certificate, do a quick search, I can see the different catalog items that we have in here, right? Oh, let's just do certificate. I don't know why new came in there. So here are the out-of-the-box catalogs. We got renew, manual, request new, automated, renew automated, so on and so forth. So if you have automated routing policies defined for DigiCert, EJBCA through Acme, Microsoft CA, Entrust, etc., right? You can use the automated catalog items to go ahead and get those fulfilled in an automated fashion. Now, if you're using a CA, and we saw tons in the poll of CAs that we currently don't support out of the box right now, you can still use the catalog items out of the box for those manually processing, right? But let's request a new certificate here. And I'm going to go ahead and just walk through a certificate request that I have an automated routing policy for. And in my particular instance, I don't have a catalog, or I apologize, I don't have a CSR. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to generate a CSR. Now, if I had a CSR here, I could paste that in, and you'll notice we have the ability to parse out the details here, and we'll populate this, and it's gray because we parsed that out. But if I don't have a CSR and I want to generate those, the CSR and private key fields are visible, but they're grayed out. So here, if I just come in here, oops, whoops. Let's make sure that I got this right. So we're going to do the discover the disconow.com, right? I'm not going to put in an alternative, but then, I'm going to put in my organization, ServiceNow, my organizational unit, IT, my locality. I'm based out of St. Louis, even though I'm not there today. And then I used here in my automated routing policy, Missouri, and then US. And then I can put in my email address here, Kitzman at ServiceNow.com. .com. Yeah, let's put it. Okay, and then I can choose the validity here. So let's say, hey, we want to already be in alignment with the 2024. So now that I have all those details in here, I can go ahead and I can generate a CSR, right? So I've got that CSR that will be submitted over to that CA signer to get that certificate assigned. And then we're also generating a private key. So you have two options for downloading the private key. You can either copy out the private key and store it in a text file, or you can download it. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and download it. Now, if I wanted to assign this to application services, I could do that, servers, so on and so forth. I could identify all of those, and I could go ahead and assign it to a group here. Let's choose database and then assign a certificate owner. So let's just choose Beth. And now an environment, this could be production, dev, so on and so forth. Now you can customize those, right? But out of the box, this is what we support. But if you do need to customize any of this, you can. And then let's go ahead and create a priority one task. Now, I talked about certificate discovery, generally ownership, application service. That may not, if you're not mapping out your applications, you may not have that context. But if you are using the out-of-the-box catalog items, you can go ahead and already identify an owner group and an owner. So when we send this off to the CA signer for signing, and then we store it back in as a unique certificate inside of the CMDB, now you have the ability, now that's automatically populated with the environment, the certificate owner, and whether you want to create priority one, priority three, or not renew it, right? So, leveraging the out-of-the-box catalog items, you're already populating that non-discoverable data into the CMDB, which you wouldn't get through discovery. And then once you deploy this, and then we discover it via port or pattern based, then you would have the context of that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and submit this. And then we see here that, hey, have you downloaded this? If not, go ahead and cancel out and download it and then resubmit it. So I've submitted this. Now I have a task that I can monitor, and this is in a failed state, so I must have entered in something wrong. But based off of the details that I entered in here, right, now I can come in here and I can see the tasks, right? Let's see, this just probably hasn't renewed. So let's just come over to certificate, and I'm going to come over here, and I can see those tasks. So if I'm submitting this, now I can see, the details of the task. And then, it looks like the mid server is down. That's why it failed. So I apologize for that, but let's go ahead and let's open up another one where the mid server was up, and you can see all of the details in here. So we're triggering an automated workflow. We're doing a DNS challenge for this certificate, right, to ensure. Then it looks like we had an exception here, but then we proceeded with the request. It completed successfully, and then we downloaded the signed certificate, the intermediate, and the root certificate, and stored that, and then we auto-created a change ticket for that, right? And then here's the change ticket information here. And then, like I said, we don't have that last mile, but at least we've got that certificate changed, and now I can plan the certificate to get this deployed. And as I mentioned, we do have future roadmap for supporting that last mile certificate deployment. So you'll notice here that based off of the attributes of here, we automatically sent it over to the CA for signing. So how do we do that, right? We did that through an automated routing policy. So we have the details set up here in here. So this was EJBCA through Acme. So identified the URL for the Acme server that is integrated with EJBCA, right? And then, if we had DigiCert, here's where we would see those direct URLs for those out of the box that we support for direct API. And then we have it set up here now, an automated routing policy to send it over the CA for signing. And in my demo, I chose development, external, and then I identified ServiceNow, St. Louis. So basically what we're doing is when that, and then we also identified the mid server. And if we want this to request to get approved or not, we could also send it through an approval process before we send it over to the CA, right? So based off of the attributes of the request, we'll align that to an automated routing policy. So then we can send it over to the CA, right? Um, so, in setting this up is pretty straightforward. You need a credential and a credential alias. Then you just identify what the CA's authority is, whether it's external, all those attributes. You enter that in, and then when the requester submits the request and it aligns to these attributes, this is the automated routing policy that is chosen, and send that request, that CSR is forwarded to the CA signer for signing, and then we have a scheduled job that will go out and query, hey, has this been signed? Has this been signed? As soon as it gets signed, it is stored in the CMDB, right? Now, so that's how we automatically send it to the CA for a signer for those CAs that we support out of the box. Another thing that I talked about is we auto-generate renewal tasks based off of the attributes, the expiration, right? So that is a configurable property under discovery properties that you can use 15 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, etc., right? To give you plenty of time to go ahead and route those, whether it's manually or leveraging, the automated routed policies to send over in an automated fashion. So once a certificate that we've discovered is reaching that threshold, whatever that's set, that property set, we will automatically generate a renewal task. So basically, and I'm not sure this is yeah. So basically, what we do is we generate a renewal task and assign that to the certificate owner and say, hey, you requested this certificate. It's going to expire in 30 days. You need to go ahead and follow that process to get the certificate renewed, right? So this task gets assigned to the certificate owner, and then they can go through that process. And instead of requesting a new certificate, then they can come in here and just do the renew, right? So and leverage the out-of-the-box catalog items to renew that certificate. And if it's automated, right, I've got here, so now I can go ahead and I can choose that who the issuer is and run through that process that I showed you earlier. So that way we're ensuring that the certificate owner is aware that a certificate that they own is expiring and they need to submit that request over to go through that process of requesting that certificate renewal and get it automatically routed using the automated routing policies. So, that's what I wanted to show for a demo. I'm going to go ahead and pause right there. John, Sorby, Ryan, team, is there anything that I need to answer, or maybe something that I didn't show in the demo that we can answer live right now?
Yes. So, Derek, first of all, we had such a great engagement. We had almost definitely more than 60 questions so far, which means a lot of people are interested in the topic. So there have been questions around the out of the box sort of capabilities from sort of requesting for new or renewing or revoking certificates, and if whether those are shipped out of the box or not.
Yeah. So we have out of the box the URLs identified for DigiCert. Now, for other certificate authorities, you would need to come in here and set those up, right? So, we have we set this up for Intrust to send via the Acme server. So, we created a new record here, identified the CA signer and the manner through which it is that we're going to send it over, and here's the URL that we used, right? For Acme, right? So on and so forth, right? So let's encrypt. We got that set up as well. If we add Microsoft CAA, we would need to add those. So these were added into the platform, right? And then for DigiCert, we have those out of the box, right? And then once you've identified those certificate authorities, then that's where you go ahead and set up the routing policies and identify those attributes, right? So in this particular instance, we used EJBCA here for development. It's internal. We identified the certificate, and this one is wide open, and it's saying for any internal, development, you know, whatever the subject is, the alternative organization, et cetera, routed over to the EJBCA through integration through Acme, right? So this is all set up in a manual nature for right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek.
Yeah.
We have actually we have another question, which is, what are the best practices or recommendations to automatically update the assignment group for new certificates added by Discovery?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Now, you think about when we're discovering certificates, right? The renewal tracking status, the owner, the change group, that's generally non-discoverable data. So, you want to make sure instead of, because you don't want to get until that information is filled out, you don't want to get a bunch of manual renewal task type things, right? You don't want to get a bunch of renewal tasks created for those certificates where you haven't assigned an owner, et cetera, right? Because then they'll just get assigned, those tasks will get created and they won't get assigned to anybody in particular. And then the PKI admin or whoever's managing this would have to go ahead and figure out how those should get assigned out. So you can disable the automated task creation. So I'm just going to do discovery and then pull up the properties, and I can show you where discovery properties. Here we go. Okay. So here's where let's see, let's go all the way down here. So you can identify, do you want, and that was another thing that I didn't talk about. So enable renewal task creation for all discovered certificates. By default, this property is enabled. Probably want to disable that when you first turn this on and start discovering so you don't automatically create those tasks. Another option you can do is you could keep this, you could say, don't enable this, but hey, I don't have certificate owners yet, but let's go ahead and create certificates or incidents for all the expired certificates. So that way incident management can respond to those, right? You can post updates out for expiring or expired certificates to a Slack channel. And then here's where you would adjust the threshold for the expiring certificate. So out of the box, it's 60, but you could reduce that or increase that based off of your uh, um, rules. And then, what user ID do you want to have for the open buy for the certificate mask and who's the caller for the incident, right? So you do have the ability to customize or configure that based off of your internal. So I think from a best practices perspective, when you're first discovering your certificates, you may not want to create automated renewal tasks until you can identify the owners that so they could get routed appropriately.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek.
Yeah.
We have many questions that are coming in. So can you please add more to the pattern-based discovery of certificates in Java and Windows key stores? And what happens if they're not seeing these resulting from horizontal discovery of server infrastructure? Can we point them in the right direction?
When I'm not exactly sure. What was the question? What was the question again? Oh,
So if Yeah, whenever they're discovering certificates in Java and Windows key stores, and they have set up horizontal discovery of their server infrastructure, but they're not seeing their certificates coming back from the discovery. So is there, uh,
Ye-
yeah,
Yeah, it's most likely a permission issue with the credential. So just need to make sure that the credential that you're using is able to query the Java key store.
awesome.
And you can go, when you're using pattern-based discovery, you can open up the discovery log and step through and see what the exact error is, and then do the troubleshooting, leveraging the details in the discovery pattern log. Just put it into debug mode, or just open up the pattern mode, the discovery pattern that's been executed, and look at the error in the discovery pattern.
Yeah, and we have many updates coming soon. Also from in general for discovery troubleshooting, we have many options already in Discovery Admin Workspace. For those of you that are starting to use it, we highly recommend you to download Discovery Admin Workspace and use it, and let us know. Of course, if you have some feedback, please keep using the idea portal for any ideas you may have. And we're gonna be introducing this is in the plan, so we can't commit to any timelines, but there's going to be more additions to discovery troubleshooting. Now, there are definitely so many questions here, so we definitely appreciate the huge participation. Derek, maybe we can share a little bit more about in general Kubernetes discovery. We've seen many different questions around Kubernetes discovery, and I see you stop sharing your screen. Maybe you can share the downloads page on the certificate management workspace and explain what can be done, how they can download the Helm chart and so on.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, Let me get back the share. Okay. So so we do support Certificate Manager for external issuer downloads. You can build an image using a Docker recipe or the binary, and then you can deploy that image using Helm chart or the Kubernetes YAML, right? So that is available in here, and we have a compatibility notice here. Here's the recipe here, so you can copy that to a clipboard, and then see the details of that in a text editor, right? Um, let's go here. So here are the details here, right? So this is to be able to download that Docker recipe, right? Oops. Go ahead and delete. And then you could just go ahead and directly download it here, and then the binary as well. Same with the Helm chart. Then once you've built that image, then you can, use either Helm or just the YAML to go ahead and deploy that out into your Kubernetes cluster. And that will facilitate the discovery and renewal of those external issuers for your Kubernetes cluster.
Thank you, Derek.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so we've seen questions about Kubernetes and in general. Yeah, we've had so many questions. So, Sakshi, is there anything you want to bring up live from your end? Since you've answered many questions, is there maybe some common themes that you want to bring up live? Sorry,
Yeah, let's
Surbi. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking here. Is bulk import of certificates still an option for adding certificates to the CMDB? Yes, it is. I didn't walk through that in a demo, but you just use the discovery schedule, and instead of choosing API URL, you would just use the import. So would someone asked something, would that be agent based? So it sounds like someone asked, and I didn't really we didn't cover this in the deck or in the demo, but ACC does support certificate discovery, right? So we didn't talk about that, but I believe it was the Q3 release of this year, was either Q3 or Q2 release. We added support for Agent Client Collector, and it looks like ACC is not installed in this instance, but I do have an instance where it is installed. And basically what we've done is we've added new checks to Agent Client Collector, a new policy and a new check for Agent Client Collector to be able to go out and discover those certificates where Agent Client Collector is the primary method of discovering those certificates. And I believe by default, when you upgrade the latest version of ACC, that policy is disabled or inactive. So you would need to go in and enable that. So if I come here and go to policies, you can see here the TLS SSL certificate capture. So that executes the check. And then one of the things that I did want to cover is whatever services or ports that you've identified in the port probe are the same that will be discovered via ACC policy, right? And there's actually a configuration file, a JSON file that gets deployed out with that check. So if I come in here, here's the check for the policy. And then, I can see, what plugins and then the configuration file. So this JSON file also gets downloaded the to the ACC agent, and that has that definition of what, oops, for some reason it's opening up WinServe, so I apologize, but that will show you based off of the port probes that the services you've identified in that port probe will be populated in that configuration file.
All right. Awesome, Derek. I feel like we still have a couple of questions that are being answered in the chat. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and share the very last parts of today's content. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So, thank you so much, first of all, Derek and Surbi and everyone else that has been supporting in the chat. We've had definitely great support, great interactions there, so we really appreciate it. In the meantime, we'll highly encourage you to scan this QR code, and also we'll be pasting the link via chat very soon for the ITOM Academy on-demand webinars. You scan this QR code, go to the item section, and you'll be prompted to the YouTube webinar series where you can rewatch all of our previous webinars so that you have great best practices, great content, and great info that you can bring back to your daily jobs. And of course, to implement our products better. This is the link to Beers with Engineers, which is a great series that our great colleagues have been leading for many, many months, and I would say years by now. We have a dedicated microsite and, of course, the YouTube on-demand link. So please scan this QR code for more deep dive sessions on related topics. And also, we have great resources for you. Please make sure that you leverage ServiceNow Impact, first of all, so you can really maximize the power of our AI platform to really proceed with your business transformation initiatives. We have great training and certification resources for ServiceNow University. And also, you can leverage the expert services, learn more on the expert services community. You can scan all of these QR codes, and please keep in mind that these slides will be available on the community page, and they will be available together with the recording of today's session. So I think that was everything for today. We're at the top of the hour, so we really thank you all. You've been amazing today once again. Thanks all for really showing up to all of our webinars. Please do not forget to actually provide us with some feedback, given the fact that you'll be prompted to fill out a short survey right now. And please do not miss the upcoming episodes of this webinar series. We really look forward to see you all soon. Thank you so much, Derek, Surbi, Steve, Brian, Ryan, and everyone else that is contributing for today's session. And yeah, we'll see you all soon.